Jay Gruden's Sunday was not that good. Got smashed by the Patriots 33-7 at home in a game where his team went 1 for 11 on third down. Now, I'd say that's pretty embarrassing. I would say that's pretty humiliating, but it's not. It's the Redskins, right? It's expected. It's par for the course. It's who they are. It's what they do every damn Sunday. Again, it's expected. How expected? Adrian Peterson said this about the Patriots defense after the game. Quote, "They showed a lot of exotic stuff on film, but against us, they didn't really, you know? It was like, hey, we'll sit back here and we'll see what you guys do and allow you guys to mess up." End quote. That is a tremendous quote. That's brutal. I mean, really brutal, but it's fair. I mean, the guy all but said they didn't even try. They weren't even trying. Why waste any energy trying to beat you scrubs when we know you're just going to beat yourselves anyway? Why put anything else on tape for anybody else to see when we know we're going to knock the crap out of you without even trying? It's pretty insulting, pretty embarrassing. But then again, what'd you expect? When you've got a 4-0 Patriots team facing off against an 0-4 Redskins team. An 0-4 Redskins team, which is even worse than their record indicates. But you know it's especially bad when people aren't really focusing on the fact that you had a 7-0 lead and then gave up 33 unanswered points. Or when they're not too interested in the return of Colt McCoy. Or the fact that McCoy was sacked 6 times. And instead of just asking if you'll have a gig the next day, it did provide Gruden the opportunity to drop this zinger. If the key works Monday, keep working. Yeah, bad news, though, big dude. The key did not work today. According to the Washington Post, Gruden was called to the facility for a 5 a.m. meeting with Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen. And they fired him. 5 a.m. 5 a.m. They broke him off at 5 in the morning. They kicked him to the curb before sunrise. Lane Kiffin getting canned on the tarmac at LAX, allegedly. Cannot believe how cold that is. 5 a.m.? You couldn't wait until 9 a.m.? When you've been sucking for years, what's another couple of hours? Why make this guy come to the facility? Why even bother with that? Why not just do it over text? Then again, how relieved is Jay Gruden right about now? I mean, sure, he did have to wake up early to get to the facility, but now he can go home, get a nap, and start life without having to go to work at that dump ever again. This guy's second best day as a head coach was getting that job, but his best day ever was losing that job. Now, the crazy thing is, on November 11th of last year, Washington was 6-3. They were in it. They mattered. They were relevant. But they've gone 1-11 since then. And yes, there have been some injuries, and some of the additions have not worked out quite right. But Gruden was nobody's idea of a successful head coach. And things were terrible. One player told Josina Anderson, quote, "Gruden is a good dude, but you can tell that he saw the writing on the wall. Players like him, it just got a little too laid back here lately, and sometimes that can bite you in the butt. I've seen some things here I've never seen on other teams," end quote. Seeing things you've never seen on other teams does not sound good, but it does sound exactly like what you'd expect to see in Washington. Like, ever have a vision of a city that you've never been to, but you've always had this vision or this image of what that city might look like? I'm not going to say any cities in particular, but imagine that. Think of a city that you would think would look a certain way, but you've never been there. And then you go there, and it's exactly what you thought it would be. And I don't mean that in a good way either, right? Think about that. It's happened to all of us. Well, that's the Redskins. The Redskins are that piece of crap city that you've never gone to, never wanted to go to, but always had a vision of, but then one day you ended up there, and it was exactly what you thought it would be. You know, like you envision a crappy situation with a crappy coach and a crappy organization, and then you get there, And you're not even surprised because it's exactly what you thought it would be. I mean, what did you expect? A well-run, well-oiled, perennial playoff contender? Hell no, it's the Redskins. Another player told Anderson, quote, "It was time. Too much laziness and stubborn bleep going on around here. Folks not taking bleep serious. Looking at Snapchat during practice. Come on now. You know who I'm talking about. Guys, we're talking about it. We'll see how it goes." End quote. Folks on Snapchat during practice. That's pretty strong. That's a baller's move right there. That's the ultimate sign of disrespect. Firing up Snapchat during practice. Like, could you imagine if that ever went down with, say, the Patriots? Bill Belichick would straight stroke out if any of his guys ever dared to fire up Snapface during practice. But apparently it was going on with the Redskins. And the only thing worse than a player being on Snapchat during a practice would be a coach being on Snapchat during practice. But as bad as all that is, and as terrible as Washington has been this year, and as ugly as last week was with the quarterback situation, know this. The problem is not Jay Gruden. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to be fired, but I'm saying that's not the issue. That's not the biggest issue. We know what the real problem is. Gruden was definitely a problem, and I've got no problem with him getting fired. But the real problem is the guys who fired him. The real problem, of course, is Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen and the entire trash fire of an organization that they've got going there right now. They have not won a playoff game since 2005. They have finished last or second to last 15 times since Dan Snyder took over. Doing what they did to Gruden at 5 a.m. is the ultimate rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic move.
Iceberg, right ahead.
I mean, hell, iceberg straight ahead.
Iceberg.
Well, you couldn't see that iceberg? You turn the freaking boat, man. That iceberg was like as big as the moon. Hell, even then, they couldn't even get the interim coach thing right. This really aggravates me. They gave the title to Bill Callahan instead of three other incredibly well-qualified candidates. That job could have gone to Jim Tomsula. That job could have gone to Tim Jomsula. The job could have gone to Tim Sula. Look, Jay Gruden is not the reason why people are not going to games anymore. Jay Gruden was not the reason why that was practically a home game for New England. Jay Gruden is not the reason they've been so bad for so long. That's on the owner. That's on the president. They aren't winners. In fact, by definition, they're losers. The team is nearly 15 games, 50 below 500 since Snyder took over. Bruce Allen is 59, 89, and 1 since he arrived. So how is a new head coach going to change any of that? Why is Allen going to be involved in hiring a new coach? Better yet, why hasn't he been fired yet? And by the way, I am aware of the videos from a few years back that leaked this week. Interesting timing, don't you think? And if the organization had anything to do with that video or videos being leaked, that is the dirtiest pool ever. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying if they did, that would be the dirtiest pool ever. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying if they did, just fire the guy. If you're going to fire the guy, fire the guy. Would anybody even know or care if you did? I'm not saying they did this, but if they did, what the hell for? To provide cover for yourselves? Yeah, well, if you did that, it didn't work. If anything, you've made this guy actually sympathetic. If, in fact, the team had anything to do with it, and I don't know if they did or didn't. Either way, the team called a presser for later today, but in the meantime, they did issue a statement which included, quote, through the first 5 games of the 2019 season, the team has clearly not performed up to expectations, and we all share in the responsibility. Yeah, we all share in the responsibility, But Jay is the one getting fired at 5 a.m. Everybody else sleep in and continue to be terrible. And the most amazing thing about me blowing out a hole open on Jay Gruden is I have more to say about this. Most Redskin thing ever. They did not meet expectations. What kind of expectations did you have? You have one good player. Trent Williams, and he wants nothing to do with you. And I can't say that I blame him. Terrible team, terrible organization from top to bottom.